you've got to have a strategic brain who knows how to run an organization and gets your work, and they've got to be as authoritative as you. And from that team of two, you can become 4 or 5, no problem then.
Well, hello and welcome to the Church Office Podcast. My name is Gavin Smith, and it's a joy today to welcome you to our Admin and Ops podcast. We love talking about the work of ministry behind the scenes. And we get leaders listening, we get pastors, we get a whole bunch of people who know what this ministry behind the scenes is like. It's hard, but it's a great ministry, and it serves the gospel in so many different ways. So if you're listening and you're working for a church in this area, then let me encourage you and thank you for coming on today and encourage you in your ministry in this work. It is so worthwhile. So I've got an old friend on the podcast, Graham Daniels, who works at Christians in Sport, and mate, it's great to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining us, man.
You are a star. I'm absolutely chuffed to be with you. Like, we've seen each other a bit, but it's like 30 years since we were doing football together.
It's wild, isn't it? And you'll see my shirt behind the back, and I often get a couple of emails in saying, "What is this?" It's my Welsh under 18 shirt, Gray. You know, as a
Absolutely
class.
Hey,
Emma.
I bet you never brag you. So I tell you what, anyone listening with us now, what a sweet left foot this one had. Gavin Smith, what a beautiful left foot. Really, really good play. You were, weren't you? Well, you can't. You were a very, very good player. Very
left foot. Yeah, and it just didn't necessarily. It was a short career in some ways, in many ways, but which has led me into working at the church and a whole bunch of different things. And it's been a journey, isn't it? Because I would have met you when I was 14, wouldn't I? When my mum and dad were trying to navigate how on earth do you sign these 6-year contracts with people, and it was Sheffield United, and you guys came down from where would you have been based then?
I was in Cambridge then.
You were in Cambridge then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you must have been in your 30s then, so mate.
Yeah, I would have been. Yeah. And they were very early days. Now we're in 2025. You can't really go to any football club without there being multiple professing Christians at least. There are hundreds, well, certainly hundreds of parents who are looking out for their kids, and we try and help them to navigate their children's pathway as you had to face. But your mum and dad and you were serious pioneers, because this was a new experience for all of us at Christians in Sport. And yeah, 6-year contract when you're 14 years of age, and your parents have to decide what to do. I mean, it's impossible, isn't it? I'm glad you stayed at Cardiff. You know, signing for Cardiff was definitely right. And of course, in hindsight, and I guess that's part of our conversation today, looking back, the skill set God had given you, the leadership ability of being a really good player, international player, great youngster, signing for a pro club, obviously enhanced your leadership ability. But the Lord used that, didn't he, to show you your lane, which is what you've done faithfully and brilliantly and served others in way beyond your church for years. So we rejoice in the path we get, don't we? Or the lane Yes, we do.
Yeah, it's absolutely right, mate. And I'm so grateful for your discipleship. I remember you guys taking a group of, pros away to Atlanta and just enjoying those trips over the summer, wasn't it? We'd go over and some time together, some coaching, some outreach stuff.
Yeah, the big idea was young players, everybody would have been at 16 through whatever, 30, I suppose. But if you went outside of Britain, people didn't know any of the really famous ones, say. They wouldn't be known in those days in America. And so we had this beautiful mixture, didn't we, of very young professionals like you with very experienced professionals. Cyril Regis came, didn't he, a few times?
Brilliant.
And it was a lovely peer mentoring time, just for a week or so in between seasons. Very, very formative for many of us, including me. So happy memories, Gavin.
Yeah, mate. I remember you taking us to Louis Giglio's church in Atlanta. Do you remember that, in the early days before he really
before he was famous?
I remember sitting in his church, listening to him preach, thinking, right, this is interesting, and I look back and go, oh my goodness, I was there at the time when he was launching that church,
Yeah, it was right at the start, wasn't it? It was right at the start, Perimeter Church, I think. Yeah, yeah. The marvelous thing about hindsight is that you can see the hand of the Lord
Yeah,
in ways, but of course, at the time, we're all just pressing on and doing today. Don't worry
doing
about tomorrow.
yeah,
Today's got enough worries of its own.
yeah,
And the best thing for me being right here, right now with you is that we're still, to keep that metaphor, you and I are still in the race. The Lord
yeah,
Jesus has kept us and has got
yeah,
us. And the years roll
yeah,
and we get closer to the finish line, as it were, and we
yeah,
will see him. So thank God that we're
yeah.
still at it, Gavin, eh?
It's
Thank
great. It's great.
yeah.
Mate, well, I better say something about our sponsor before I forget, because Gavin from Church Suite is a brilliant fan of the church office and has been so generous with his funds. And if you've not come across Church Suite, which is a brilliant church management tool, which will serve you in so many different aspects behind the scenes, please go and check it out and have a look at it. And if it would serve you, then please get in contact, and we'd love to help you set it up. We'd love to help you get that in place in your church. So yeah, churchsuite.com are our sponsors. Graham, let's talk about what you're doing now then, because Christians in Sport. Um, Tell us about that ministry a little bit, because for our listeners to just get a bit of context in what you're doing.
Yeah, well, Christians in Sport is best described because it's not very sophisticated. Let me give you a personal story to describe what it does for everybody that we work with now. When I was 15, year 10 in school,
Mm,
you're in Cardiff. I live in Llanelli, which is 50 miles west.
yeah,
My school cricket team was short of a player. The captain of cricket came to get me,
yeah,
jumped on the bus to go to a game. Of course, I'm younger than everybody because they're all 18, but I'm only there to make up the numbers. Third man, long leg, batted 11. So I did
yeah,
nothing. On the way there, he sat by me because I didn't know anyone very kindly. On the way back from Cardiff, he sat by me. It was a Monday, and he said, what did you do at the weekend? I said, I went to play cricket Saturday. It was the 70s in Llanelli.
yeah,
I did nothing Sunday. Boring day, nothing on the telly, no sport. Didn't go to church. I said, what did you do at the weekend? He said, I played cricket Saturday. I went to church Sunday. I said, goodness me, why do you go to church? And he said, because I follow Jesus. And it was the first time in my whole life I met somebody who was a very good athlete, better than me, older than me, at school, 15, 18.
yeah,
Big respect, like he was like a man, wasn't he? And I thought, wow. And for the first time in my whole life, at 15, I thought, oh my goodness, I could be a Christian
mm,
when I love sport.
yeah, yeah,
And sport is my idol. I didn't use those words. No. So that man, Guion Jenkins, opened my eyes to even the possibility that I could follow Christ and be known by Christ in sport. So Christians in sport really, really is that.
mm,
It's young women and young men, older women and men, elite players, competitive players. And we say to them, if they're Christians, pray for people, play in a way that honors Christ. Ask for the Holy Spirit to give you the strength to honor Christ in your performance and in the dressing room and in the bar, and say something about him.
yeah,
Anything. My friend Guion was the worst evangelist in history, really. He just blushed, said he followed Jesus. Uh, but he opened my eye. God used him to open my eyes to the possibilities. So Christians in Sport just tries to reach the world of sport for Christ by encouraging people who are Christians to walk with him and to speak of him. That's it,
yeah,
across all levels and
yeah,
ages and stages.
yeah. And you're doing that in a tremendous way. Like for me to know you for what 30 plus years,
Mm,
you've given yourself to this ministry, and the number of people that I meet in churches
mm,
who have got a background in Christians in sport
mm,
through some of your, either being a player or a university student that's attended one of your groups, or
mm,
now in church leadership,
mm.
mate, that must really cheer you up as well, because that's the grace of God, isn't it, at work?
Oh, Gavin, I mean, fair play to you. You've just put your finger on. We don't publish stats of how many people profess and so on.
Mm,
We don't do that, and we don't publish stats on a lot of things. But one of the things that makes my heart jump for joy is what you've just said, because I do informally, we keep a list, of course, of who's come through the work.
yeah,
And in terms of our leadership development, interns, post-university and so on,
yeah.
we've got not far shy of 300 people in the UK who are in church leadership. Um, And that fits really, I guess, with the heart of what you do and the way you support churches around the country. Is very specific philosophy for Christian in sport: tiny government, small government.
Yeah,
Teach the Bible to Christians and non-Christian sports people, but the goal all the time. We have a window, we call it under 23 window.
yeah,
So if you get youngsters to camp, because it's hard sometimes at church for you to get them into a camp was very sporty. So that's a
mm,
para-church activity we do. At universities, we work with UCCF and Fusion to make sure that we look out for the very sporty women and men at uni. Again, crucial times when para-churches are
yeah,
quite significant. But here's the big but. Once they're past that 23 age group, all we want them to do. You can't really do anything with Christians in sport
yeah,
after
yeah,
that. Not really.
yeah,
Not with the organization.
yeah,
You just say, get to church.
yeah,
And so the local church is God's design. It is God's way of discipling. It
yeah,
is God's kingdom at work in day-to-day life.
yeah,
So our parachurch is tiny government. And I feel really chuffed, really, at this stage of my life that we know so many churches with so many Christians in sport people in as leaders and members. And they see the church, not the parachurch,
yeah,
as the main source of their discipleship and evangelism.
yeah.
It's that was the dream.
Yeah, but you've brought that kind of leadership, Graham. I can see that from a distance. Just in the early days where people would have gone to a Christian support group, and that might be for them their sense of being church and
Yeah.
what church is, to
Mm,
where you've got it to now,
mm.
where the local church is prized, is loved. There's always that direction saying,
Yeah.
build into a church, isn't it? Build into a church, and I love that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just right. I think we both love it because we know that biblically or ecclesiologically, to
Yeah,
be posh about it, this is God's design. The local church is his primary design for discipleship and evangelism. So we supplement it at the very, very, very minimum requirements, and the camps, student work, and traveling the globe, I guess, like taking you away.
yeah,
Very hard for a local church or even five or six local churches to pay for somebody to go on the European golf tour or the tennis
yeah,
tour
yeah,
when people are away 6 months a year.
yeah.
So our limited parachurch just tries to make sure we can do that to serve the local church. So, yeah, I'm thrilled with it, and the people, the younger people who have sort of will take over my role and work in my role. They're exactly the same. They know exactly that this is what we're about, and anyone who's got any senior role at Christians in Sport is in church leadership as part of the local church, as I am at St Andrew the Great in Cambridge and the leadership team. So yeah, it's brilliant, Gavin,
It's
and
good. It's
it's
good, isn't it? And
yeah, I'm thrilled with it. I'm just thrilled, and the Lord's been kind. It was my pastor actually when I became the director of Christians in Sport quite a long time ago now. Uh, it was actually my pastor at St Andrew the Great, Mark Ashton, who was the
yeah,
vicar.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, he used to draw. I think it's worth saying this to you. He used to draw a diagram at the start of every academic year. New term starts September,
yeah,
Cambridge. Staff go away, staff retreat,
yeah,
and the first diagram he passed away with cancer some years ago now, very early in his early 60s. And he would draw a diagram on the board. It's easy to hear and visualize. He would draw a
yeah,
Bible, a little picture of a Bible, a book. He would draw a rectangle next to it, to the right of it. And he'd apologize for calling it the church because the church isn't a building, but it would
yeah,
be a rectangle with a cross on it. And then there'd be the third thing, and last thing he would draw was like a Venn diagram, little circles coming out to the church.
yeah,
And then on top of the three pictures, he would write, teach the Bible in the power of the Holy Spirit
yeah,
in church communities
yeah,
for mission and maturity for the speech bubble. And
yeah,
then, last of all, he would cover up one of the three. So he'd say, now, what we could do here as a staff in Cambridge, we could cover up the Bible. And he put his hand over the Bible. He could say, the rectangle would be next door. We could have a lovely fellowship
yeah,
in our church. And we could be, for mission and maturity, we could be making a lovely difference in our city, caring for people, loving people. We could have both of those, but in due course, if we cover up teaching the Bible in the power of the Spirit properly, we'll go offline.
yeah,
And then he would go, okay, but what we could also do, of course, is cover up mission and maturity. And
Yeah.
then he'd say, now what are we left with? A Bible and the local church.
Yeah.
And we could have really good Bible teaching
Yeah.
and a very, very growing church in terms of depth. But here's the thing then, he said, if we don't ask them to get out into the community, those speech bubbles will house friends, home, friends, school gates, sport, arts, music.
Yeah.
If we cover up the speech bubble, you've got the soundest in-house thing with Bible and church, but no genuine mission because
Yeah.
people haven't got time to
Yeah.
live outside.
Yeah.
And then finally, he would cover the middle bit and he'd leave the Bible and going into the community, the speech bubbles. And he'd say, of course, we could have excellent Bible teaching, the power of the Spirit, and we could have a sports ministry or a ministry to the poor or a ministry to the.
Yeah.
He said, we could do all that. He said, but of course, the local church would be gone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people would just be trapped in this little bubble that they think that's the church and they don't mix with young and old and backgrounds and
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
And then he
Yeah.
would take it all away and he'd say, no, 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 no. The work of the gospel never changes. Teach the word of God in the power of the Holy Spirit
Yeah.
in a local community where everyone's welcome to come in, Christian
Yeah.
or not, and hear God's word in a way that speaks to them.
Yeah.
And then as they come to Christ, let them go out into mission and maturity
Yeah.
in a range of cultural areas. If we can get those three things right, then we're doing something that's half decent, you would say. So it's
I
beautiful,
love
isn't
it.
it?
It's
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It just, yeah, there's ingredients. And
yeah.
yeah, I love that. I love that. And the fact that he started with that at every retreat is wonderful.
Everyone, without fail, without fail.
I
And
love that.
he would say, and he would use me as an example, of course, because I was there. And he said, of course, we could do, Dano's my nickname, we could do it, Dano, Christian, we could have people like Christians in sport who want to teach the Bible in the power of the Holy Spirit and want to reach sports, a tiny part of outreach in the world,
Yeah.
sports people. He said, of course, they could ignore the local church completely and build this marvelous organization, which was all about them and their brand and their
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah.
but what? How are we serving the people who come to Christ in that
Yeah.
if we don't send them to the local church?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was the one who taught me small government for parachurch.
Yeah. It's good.
Genius.
It's great. It's great. So give me a little bit of like churches who are listening to this, Graham. Before I want to draw out from you a little bit about kind of admin and ops and your experience on that. Tell me how churches can connect with you guys. So people may have heard of you, may not have heard of you.
Yeah.
And I know you've done like quizzes and stuff, and you've helped to train people in evangelism. You've training interns. You're doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Give me a couple of minutes on that.
Yeah, well, I think as ever these days, isn't it? If you type Christians in sport into anything on your computer, you come up with about 14 social media links and all that. So, yeah, and you can go and find out.
Yeah.
But I think if we were to really nail this down now, what we're talking about is if you've got young people in your church who are very, very sporty, but not elite, but very sporty, very keen. Sunday's a problem. You're trying to work out how to play it.
Yeah.
You want them to meet other Christians who are very sporty, and they may not have loads of them around them necessarily on a Sunday in a smaller church. Look at the camps.
Yeah.
The camps are for 11 to 17-year-olds, very sporty children. We could help with that. If you've got a youngster going to university and they're likely to be playing in the university sports teams,
Yeah.
we have people who work in the universities to look after those young people as they go to uni, and we try and point them to a good church in the community where other Christians in sport are going.
Yeah, great.
And then finally, if as a church you want to do outreach in your own community to the sports community in your neighborhood, we can send a speaker or a quiz.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then the absolutely last thing would be if you've got a child or an adult in your congregation who is very, very, as Gavin Smith was as a youngster, let us know, because we draw together mums and dads of young athletes who are in massive demand. And we give those parents a chance once a month if they wanted to come and talk to other parents who are Christians facing the same dilemmas.
Yeah, that's great.
And as the children grow older, past 18, we can help monitor them on their way in their elite sport. So they're the four key things.
Good. Mate, I love that. Give me some stats. We love stats as administrators and ops people. Like, how many are we reaching? Like, how many people are engaged in sport? I know you have this stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're talking some huge numbers in a population of around 60 million. Now, of course, I won't name the organizations, the secular organizations, and
Yeah.
people obviously are going to try and big these numbers up
Yeah. Yeah.
for participation. But you're talking something like half the population of Britain does physical exercise at least twice a week,
Yeah.
for example. So you're on 30 million.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then when you start pinning down, this would be a good exercise. Let's chunk this down for church leaders and members listening.
Yeah.
If you were to take a 3 or 5 mile radius of church where you are
Yeah.
and actually went and Googled sports clubs within,
Yeah.
artificial
Yeah.
intelligence, sports clubs within 5 miles of my church building, it would blow you away.
Yeah.
Sports teams or clubs. It just, every time somebody does it, they go, oh my goodness me.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're in a city, you're easily talking 50 all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Easily. Yeah.
if did it in somewhere like Llanelli, which is where I grew up and go back to regularly, you'd come up with, if you're in the middle of Llanelli, you'll come up with 50 to 60 sports clubs
Yeah.
in a 5 mile radius.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's your mission field, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've got sporty people in your congregation, that's mission and maturity. That's the speech bubble.
Yeah.
So around the country, we're talking millions of people playing training or playing 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah. And that's the opportunity we have, isn't it, to place it. And I've loved it. You know, we've talked to you before about having a Christian league of football and church
Yes.
teams and stuff like that. And then just how different it can be of actually 2 or 3 of you going into a team situation and taking the gospel into that, and how effective that can be as well, rather than just running our own thing. And I love those ideas where you're challenging those ideas for churches as well.
Yes, and good, and of course you're not saying it's better to have 2 or 3 believers in a secular team
Mm.
than necessarily it is to have a church league.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, this is organizational now, isn't it? You have to decide as an organization, it seems to me, what you're saying no to.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why, for example, in Christians in sports terms, we only do the first of those. So
Yeah.
we've never run sports leagues or teams for
Yeah.
churches, not because we think they're necessarily in any way weaker, but we can only say yes to a certain number of things because you've got to get the money to pay the staff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we only work in that period. We don't run anything in sport, really. We don't run a thing. We don't run university teams, we don't run youth teams. We just run a
Yeah.
strategy that gets Christians
Yeah.
inside secular clubs and help them to share their faith and grow.
Yeah.
It's a choice. It's a
Yeah. Yeah.
strategic choice by us what to say
Yeah.
no to.
I love that, mate. It's great. And I was keen to get you on the podcast as well, because I think, we're chatting sport, but we can also chat admin and ops, because
Oh, yes.
you've been involved in a big organization, leading from the front, but then also you're involved in a football club, which has just
Yeah.
a massive amount of work that's ongoing each week. Fill me in on what you're doing then on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, you picked my conscience about a minute ago when you said, we love stats. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
oh, I wish Keith Proctor was on because really, so let me start there and then we can go to the football club. I'm a director of Cambridge United,
Yeah.
which is League Two. And if I go first to Christian in sport, I became the general director in 2002. General director is just, well, interestingly, I took over from the founder of Christians in Sport in 2002.
Yeah.
So he was first. I took over. His name was Andrew Wingfield Digby.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I knew that I had learned by 2002, so I was 40. I'd learned by then I can cast vision. I suppose my natural ability is to speak and communicate.
Yeah.
But I'd already learned by then through football management
Yeah.
that personality-wise, I win by warming people up.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
I'd worked out by then I've got to have a colleague, either my boss or my number two. I had to have somebody who was more task orientated,
Yeah.
clear thinking, a CEO,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in my money,
Yeah.
who could run an organization, who
Yeah.
was rigorous and didn't please people. Now, that's character. Of course, this is a gospel work. You have to be of good character, pastoral epistles, but different personality types and skill sets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keith Proctor or Proc. and I teamed up to run Christians in Sport. We deliberately, I'm not saying this is the right thing to do, but since we're talking about it,
Yeah.
we sat down and said, right, well, if I'm going to be, if you like, the lead, the sort of public face of it, as it were,
Yeah.
but there's no chance I would survive without him. You know, there were three, four staff at that time. It's not like Revival now, but it's, 30 people
Yeah.
working with us. He he needed to be equal with me because it needed at least two of us. You need more than two in a team, but we had to have two
Yeah.
because they're different skills. So we decided, what should we call ourselves? So I'm general director, he's
Yeah.
managing director. People say, what's the difference? That those terms don't make any sense. We say it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It doesn't matter, does it? Yeah.
No, but, now,
Yeah.
in some ways, of course, outside there it might matter, but what the point here is that in the Australian metaphor of trellis and vine,
Yeah.
yeah, he is gold dust. I would never, if I had two salaries, if
Yeah.
somebody said to me, start a church somewhere or some kind of mission agency, we'll give you two salaries, you can have one. I
Yeah.
would always spend the second
Yeah.
on a Gavin Smith or a Keith Proctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always, without fail, every time, no
Yeah.
question of it, none.
Yeah.
So I think I want to start there because in that trellis and vine metaphor, the vine can only flourish properly with a brilliant trellis. And the lead trellis workers got to understand gospel ministry inside out, upside down,
Yeah.
and be a brilliant, brilliant organizer and strategist for my money.
Yeah.
So I'll just
Yeah.
start there
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I would
That's
say
great.
that's been the bedrock of every single thing I've learned. That would be the one lesson I would take away and
Yeah.
pass on all the time.
Yeah. And that's great to hear, Graham, because like there's an awareness for you of your strengths and weaknesses and the gifts that God has given you, isn't there?
Hmm.
There's a recognition of, okay, this is where I'm weak and I need somebody to be strong in this area.
Yeah.
And we see it a lot of times where churches will hire, when they're thinking about who they hire next,
Mm.
they'll go for somebody similar to them typically.
Yes.
The idea of going for somebody totally different to you with that much more organizational thing,
Yeah.
but we're not going to compromise on the mission, on the understanding of what the church is trying to do, the love for the gospel and the church.
Yeah.
We're not going to compromise,
Yeah.
but
Well, I remember
that's
the first
important.
time I came to see you at church
Yeah,
in Newport, and
you came for a team lunch, didn't you? I think.
I
Yeah,
did, and it blew
yeah,
me away. It blew me away because it's a long time ago now, and I've been, what I've just said to you, I say so often to church leaders, friends, and
yeah,
young church leaders who are getting going. If you've got two salaries, do this.
yeah,
But when I saw what your church was doing, and I saw what you were doing, I went, "Whoa, that is brilliant." Because even earlier, you say to me, typically people like me. Of course, it's a generic. I'm generalizing.
yeah,
Um, and let's reinforce character is non-negotiable in gospel ministry, as is the conviction of the vision of your church or
yeah,
your work.
yeah,
There's something about between character and conviction or cause first of the vision God has given you. There's something in between those, it seems to me, about cohesion.
yeah,
To
yeah,
build a team, if you're alliterating, to build a team, it's got to be a team and it's got to be cohesive and it's got to be complementary and
yeah,
all the things then that management wise you look at in that.
yeah,
So say if Keith Proctor, if Proc had been with me now in a year piece like a producer when I was talking to you,
mm.
and you'd have said, give us figures for something, he'd have gone, don't blag, don't blag. You don't blag,
Yeah,
don't talk money. You don't know anything about money. You can never give proper figures. Literally, we'll go into a meeting, perhaps with donors to the work. And he
yeah,
said, by the way, when we go in here, don't even try and talk about what money we've got for what plot and what project, because you will get it wrong and we'll be exposed.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I know that's a bit extreme,
But that's
but of
done with
course,
love and relationship, isn't it? Yeah,
and he's right because his mind works around stats,
yeah,
numbers, where that fits in the strategy, when we can afford that, what we need for that, what timeline for that. And he'll know the ministry, if you like, what we're doing with camps and with unis and with the overseas work. He'll know how all the strategy and money fits into that.
yeah,
but you can't. He could speak. I mean, like you put him up to preach, he could preach.
Mm.
But he couldn't tell him, listen, you need to get on stage in 10 minutes because somebody's dropped out. Could you step in? He couldn't do it,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
I could.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the complementarity, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely right.
Uh, so I find this thrilling, how the sort of team building dynamic works for optimizing local church ministry.
Yeah,
Uh, and it hurts really when you see what a shambles can emerge if you have too many people like me
yeah,
and not enough of you.
yeah,
You end up normally in a pretty untidy place,
yeah.
management wise.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a whole bunch of people affected by that, isn't there? Either in the church
Yeah,
or the staff team, and
yeah,
those kind of
big
things.
time.
And we're kind of entering that conversation about culture as well, isn't it? Which is factors into this. So how we work together as a team, and
Yeah,
I think that's genuinely probably one of the real strengths. We talked earlier about Christians in sports leaders coming into church roles.
mm,
I love seeing those leaders because they do have a sense of teams, of working together, of
yeah,
being aware of their strengths and weaknesses, but also having a drive to bring some kind of excellence as well in their ministry, because that's how they've lived. That's always how they've participated. And I
yeah,
think that's how I've probably been. My wife will say to me, "You are all or nothing.
mm, mm,
you,
mm,
you're either all in and you're
mm.
100%, and there's that excellence that you want to bring, or you're
Yeah,
you're out and you're not." And
yes,
and that's, yeah,
yeah.
all of those things are going on.
I think to some extent that's inevitable with a sporting background, and at the same time, isn't it? There, yeah, we're back to the same point. Character is non-negotiable. The
Yeah,
pastoral epistles are obviously very clear on that. One needs to know, we use the metaphor from Jim Collins' Good to Great, because that's my era.
yeah,
You
yeah,
get
yeah,
the right people on the bus,
yeah, yeah,
right characters. But
yeah,
coherence point for me is, if your conviction is reaching the world of sport for Christ, or in Cambridge, St. Andrew the Great, right in the middle of the university, trying to reach students to send them out to the world when they graduate.
yeah,
You've got to have a clear vision, obviously. You've
yeah,
got to have good characters, but the cohesion bit is everything, isn't it? Switching seats on the bus with the metaphor.
yeah,
Hey, in his appraisal,
yeah,
it's biannual appraisal, annual appraisal. Now, this is the seat you've come into.
yeah,
That's your role. Look, you seem to be very good at this. You're flourishing at this. This isn't quite so strong. Maybe we'll have a look at shuffling seats a bit, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then sometimes you've got to say, look, I'm not sure that you need to be on this bus for more than the next 3 years, because you need to develop your career and there won't be headroom for you.
yeah,
All those
yeah, yeah,
conversations
yeah, yeah,
are
yeah,
so precious,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
that it seems to me you end up with unbearable short-termism. And in football, so if you wanted to talk about
yeah,
Cambridge United, you end up with unbearable short-termism
yeah,
if your key executives do not get that when you jump on the bus, you've got to have the right characters.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the cohesion in terms of the direction of travel is so important, that management cohesion,
yeah,
that if you don't do it, you screw up the organization.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't know if Jim Radcliffe, in the timing of our interview, Manchester United and Ruben Amorim,
yeah,
will he get sacked? Will he get sacked? Now, as we're recording this, in the media yesterday and today, uh, Jim Radcliffe, who's in charge of that sort of football side of things, is saying he needs 3 years.
yeah,
Now, if he commits to that and does it, then Amorim has a chance of actually doing something.
yeah, absolutely right. Yeah,
But the odds are, in football, you're sacked in 5 minutes.
yeah, it's scary,
Uh,
isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, and you can't do that in church, can you? Because it's volunteers. So you don't sack people, but you alienate them, don't you? You
yeah,
alienate them if you don't manage the organization properly with volunteers.
yeah,
Massive alienation, disjunctor, breakdown.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true. It's
mm,
very true, isn't it? And actually having people in the church who can build teams, work with leaders.
yeah,
We often talk about this kind of the difference between like a rota culture where you sign up to rota and actually you join a team. and the
Oh,
difference, in that. And so you get welcome to a team. You're always on team. Your input on
yeah,
how the welcome team is doing and developing,
yeah,
you're always on. You're not just on a rota for, all right,
yeah,
that's the week I serve,
yeah,
and
beautiful.
building those kind of things into our churches and organizations, stuff that we work with, is crucial, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely vital. And I think the same then. So if you want to flip it to the Cambridge United scenario, it's a small professional football club, League
Yeah.
One, League Two, in
Yeah.
between. Um, Budget wise, you'd be low budget relative to other League One or Two teams,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Uh, but the principles, and of course, it's a secular institution, but
Yeah.
the common grace principles are the same, it seems to me. So my role there is reporting to two owners who are in America. One was born in Cambridge, been in America for 40 years.
Yeah.
He's the majority owner, and he cares for his home city.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
loves his home city.
Yeah.
He's made enough wealth to invest in his home city at the level that we play football at.
Yeah.
He's a very
Yeah.
stable, low maintenance man,
Yeah.
good man. Two owners, good owners. But then they're not here. So there's a little, for example, there's a board, but then it has subsection. So I'm on the football side of it.
Yeah.
So today, as we're recording, I'll be leaving here and going to the training ground.
Yeah.
I'll go in on a Thursday. Um, my role with the owners and the football boards is to work out who's the right director of football and
Mhm.
who's the right head coach.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now we're back to our conversation. Of
Yeah.
course, they may not be believers, because not a local church, but what you're
Yeah.
looking for is people of basic competence, well, competence, good character,
Yeah.
your value system of common
Yeah.
grace, it
Yeah.
stays.
Yeah.
And then you're saying, well, let's get you on the bus, but let's not sack you after 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And let's get a director of football who really shares the values that you aspire to,
Yeah.
that you think the owners buy, which they do.
Yeah.
And then you're trusting your chief executive on the business side and your director of football.
Yeah.
Relationship with those men has to be watertight.
Yeah.
And then you're trusting them to run the institution,
Mm.
because the chief vine worker really is the head coach,
Yeah.
the manager has to get the product out there every Saturday under pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he basically needs two strategic operational brains.
Yeah.
So we run effectively then with three people in a team at the top,
Mm.
which is the chief executive who
Yeah.
runs the business
Yeah.
and the staff, the director of football who runs the football side but
Yeah.
delegates the product, the preaching, the equivalent of
Yeah.
Sunday's
Yeah.
preaching is the head
Yeah.
coach,
Yeah.
isn't it though?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he has to get up every week, as it was a pastor,
Yeah. He's
and
prepping and doing it. Yeah.
and doing the work. I mean, it is very
Yeah.
similar. I don't think it's stretching the elastic. The head coach has to get up every Sunday morning, typically, and say, right, what happened yesterday? Who have we got Tuesday? What's coming Saturday?
Yeah.
How's training going to look this week? What team do I need to put out? How am I going to present? How will I organize this? How will we deliver the
Yeah.
product, as it
Yeah.
were?
Yeah.
He is consumed by that.
Yeah.
So to have two people alongside him, one just completely looking after the business ops and
Yeah.
strategy, but one who says, this is the closest, I think, the director of football who says, look, I understand your world. I know the pressures you're under. I live right next door to you, but leave it to me to oversee the sports science, the
Yeah.
scouting,
Yeah.
for the academy.
Yeah.
Leave that. I'll run the heads of those departments. They'll report to me.
Yeah.
You're free to do the main thing we have to do week by week.
Yeah.
And just imagine trying to be a manager of a football team without that,
Yeah.
and trying to be the pastor of a church
Yeah.
without somebody says, no, leave the organization of this to me.
Yeah.
You and I will work hand in glove.
Yeah.
I'll take the weight.
Yeah.
And you just make sure you can deliver when you need to be on your feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. How could you
Yeah.
live without it? So football,
Yeah. Yeah.
we do it the same way. That's management.
You
But
do
it's
exactly the
management,
same
isn't it?
way.
It's
It
management,
is.
isn't it?
Yeah. And I think we're huge advocate for churches to think about how do we manage our churches
Yeah.
and how can we manage our churches better. Uh,
Mm.
and always looking in our training or in our reviews to go, right, how can we serve churches to find those gaps and be able to kind of either put the right people in the right place is a crucial part of it. And I think leaders live in a bit of a whirlwind, Graham, where that seven-day cycle where you go from one sermon to the next sermon, and you're dealing with crisis all week,
All the time.
and then you go, right, and then we're saying to you, right, we want you to train leaders, and we want you to run this, and we need you to do that, and you're like, oh, that's where it starts to kind of crumble down. And
Yeah.
so there's lots of things there, isn't it? But people recognizing it and going, actually, yeah, it's okay to hire someone in this role in a different way. So
Yeah. You make me think of, I'm 63 now. I can remember I was probably mid 40s. So I was at St Andrew the Great. I was director of Christians in sport. And a man who was probably 10 years older than me, let's say he was 55, I was 45, an experienced church leader, quite well known and an experienced man. And he was telling me about a 65-year-old friend. So I'm 45, my mate's 55. He's telling me about a 65-year-old.
yeah,
And he says to me that his friend who was 65, they'd been for a coffee, and he said he was really quite sad. He didn't name the friend,
mm-hmm.
so he was discreet.
Yeah,
He said he was really sad. And I said, why was he sad? He said he realized that at 65, and he had formally retired, so it was some years ago, he wasn't being invited by anyone younger than him ever to come and sit in with a church meeting
okay,
or meet other staff or have a coffee with somebody. He was never invited,
yeah,
ever. And the 55-year-old asked the 65-year-old, very experienced church leader who had stepped down, why did he think it was? And he said, well, I'm looking back on it. And I think probably when I was 50 onwards, I was in a position of power and authority.
mm-hmm.
And I didn't really, in hindsight, I didn't delegate to 40-year-olds.
Yeah,
I didn't actually give them authority to lead
yeah,
things. And I didn't realize I was doing it, but I tended to keep the big gigs, the big influence things to myself.
yeah,
He said, and I look back now and none of those people ever ask me for help or advice anymore.
yeah,
And I wish I'd given more away and been more generous and less about me being in charge.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And my 55-year-old friend said, I'm going to try and correct that before I'm 65
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
my tendency.
yeah,
And at 45 or whatever I was thinking, I'm ahead of the curve of those two then. What
yeah,
does that look like if you're 45 to have a 35-year-old
yeah,
and you're giving away things and delegating, but managing it well
yeah,
and having waiting fors,
yeah,
weekly meetings to say, how did it go?
yeah,
How was that? Let me give you some feedback.
yeah,
And one of the things that in hindsight now, I feel I wish I could have done better, but I still aspire to do it, is is to work with younger men usually, because I'm a bloke, so working with younger men than me
mm,
and not just delegating, which in one way is quite easy,
mm-hmm.
but delegating in a way where you're coaching by
Yeah,
saying, come on, let's have a 30 minutes every week. Let
yeah,
me,
yeah,
I'll watch what you did there. Trying to do that, I guess in the hope that when that point's coming, and it's coming in my life, isn't it, my 60s, where the thrill of being in the room with somebody who's now 45 and is a significant leader, and they say, do you fancy coming to have a chat with the staff about X, Y, or Z, about
yeah,
this
yeah,
issue or that
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of issue or that kind of training? Um, and I think it speaks into what we've been talking about, that unless a pastor, teacher, or evangelist is freed up by having a brilliant,
mm-hmm.
cohesive team,
Yeah,
one or two senior leaders with him,
yeah,
you're never going to have the freedom to be able to have that kind of investment in younger leaders because you will be consumed by the pastoral demands
yeah,
and the pressure to churn out a talk on Tuesday and Sunday.
yeah,
And you lose your joy to some extent,
Yeah,
don't you?
yeah,
And here's
yeah,
the worst thing: you get to retirement and no one wants to pick your brain anymore because they've never picked your brain when they worked for you. So why would they pick
yeah,
your brain when
yeah,
they're in
no,
charge? Because you never had time for them.
yeah, yeah,
So I think in your role, it's probably important for people in your role, and I'm sure I know you do this, to say to people, no, no, this is a team, and we're going to hold you to account. We're going to find the right seat on the bus for you, but you haven't got 6 seats.
yeah, yeah,
You've got one seat on this bus, and it's to do this and this.
yeah, yeah,
So that was very painful, isn't it? If you find yourself not wanted when you're older, when you feel you want to give so much,
yeah,
it's because you never gave anything when you were there, because you were too consumed by your work and the power you had.
yeah, yeah,
Scary.
yeah. Something to reflect on, isn't it? Yeah, as a
Yeah,
leader,
scary.
it is. Yeah,
Mm.
and this is a hard thing, isn't it? Like we're at our church, we're just at a point now where we're transitioning from Pete being our founder,
Yeah.
him stepping back and sort of retiring, and he's still going to serve a
Mm.
range of leaders outside the church,
Mm.
but just thinking those transition periods, and rather than transitioning to a person, he's set it up to transition to a team
Mm.
of
Good.
people. And it's really fascinating to see it. And we get lots of leaders coming and saying, why are you doing it like that? Why are you not out there recruiting for
Mm.
somebody?
Mm.
But how can we do the work actually in the church to raise up leaders from within?
Yeah.
And so we're working with a team rather than just one senior pastor or one. Uh,
Yes.
and there's lots of things to work out and untangle in that conversation. But it's
Mm.
yeah, it is fascinating to think of yeah, rather than getting to 65 and going right, how do I train and pass on my
Yeah.
experience to younger people? You're
Yeah.
right. If I could be thinking about that at 50,
Yeah.
there's a huge need for coaches and for mentors in Christian leadership, isn't there?
Yeah.
And
There is.
I chat to Matt Waldock at Gospel Coaching, and
Oh my
he's
gosh.
he's
He
saying
is
to me, yeah, he's
unbelievably
fantastic, isn't he?
good. Oh my
Yeah,
word. Well, we were at the same conference in London,
yeah,
a commission conference, and I went to Matt Waldock's seminar
yeah,
on leadership.
yeah,
Oh my word.
yeah,
It was one of the best I've ever heard in my life.
yeah. He's exceptional. He's
Oh my
exceptional.
gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was saying to me, like, we've got to get leaders in their 50s
Yeah.
talking to younger leaders,
Yeah.
whether they're in
Wow.
the church or outside the church. He's like, we've got to get it doing. Um, Rather than getting to 65 and you think, right now I'm in a position to start
Yeah,
coaching. You've got
exactly.
no relationships, have you? And you've got no opportunity then. So,
Exactly. But I think this takes us back. I may be naive. And of course I only live in my own little lane of gospel ministry.
mm,
But I do think it takes us back to, if you're primarily a pastor, teacher, evangelist,
yeah,
you've got to have a strategic brain who knows how to run an organization
yeah,
and gets your work. And they've got to be as authoritative as you. And
yeah,
from that team of two, you can become 4 or 5, no problem
yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it's only then that that team can be saying to the primary Bible teacher,
yeah,
now listen, you're good at speaking on Sundays. We love it. People love what you do and how you unpack it. So we've got to make time for you to do that properly. But by the way, we want serious investment
yeah,
in our younger leaders, and and we know you've got to do pastoral work, but we've got to find ways to make the main thing here,
yeah,
whilst looking after everyone in the church.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it seems to me, you'll never be able to do that as the pastor, teacher, evangelist
Mm,
without
yes.
in Acts
Yeah,
6:4, or
yeah,
without your brilliant elder deacon
yeah,
structure, whatever we call that, pastor, teacher, elder deacon.
yeah,
That's what we're talking about here,
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? A
Absolutely right.
brilliant combination.
Yeah,
And then you do liberate the pastor teachers to build up not just the congregation, but their staff and volunteer leaders for
yeah,
works of service. And they flourish, don't they?
yeah,
Then
yeah,
pastors don't quit their jobs because
yeah,
they're worn out.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so I know we're sort of preaching to the choir when we're talking to each other, aren't we? Uh,
Yeah, but this stuff is so important, mate. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and
Oh,
just sharing a little bit of our stories that have kind of
yeah,
intertwined, and just I'm so grateful for you and the grace of God at work in your life, and just how that's impacted me. And
yeah,
it's a thrill for me to serve my church. It's a thrill for me to be able to go out and serve other churches.
yeah,
And and as you're right, isn't it? God's got a plan, isn't he? When you look back and you say, right, I met that person and I did this, and
yeah,
this thing happened in football, which meant I had to go and do something else.
yeah,
And you go, wow, this is God at work.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, there's still things that you refer back to, and like I'm sure for you, that help you do this job today because of some of the things that you walked through in the past, isn't it? And
Oh, like
um,
zero question of it that streams of consciousness come to mind. I sat with my pastor when I became the director of Christian Sport. So if somebody's a parachurch or missions worker,
mm,
what about this? I sat down with a guy who Bible community, mission and maturity,
yeah,
sat down with him when I took the job at Christian Sport as a director.
mm,
And he said, good. He said, well, let's sit down and discuss this. He said, so you're going to be working for a missions organization. Mm. He says, so if you're going to go and take that job, then why don't we have some framework that I can make you accountable as an associate staff member here for your
mm,
time?
yeah,
I was 40, right?
yeah,
I've kept it to this day.
yeah,
So he said, right, here's what about this? He said 52 weeks a year, 5 weeks holiday. So 5 weekends you're not here, right? We've got 47 left. I think you should never be away more than 12 weekends
yeah,
preaching,
yeah, yeah,
which then leaves you with whatever's left, 30 something, isn't it?
yeah,
5,
yeah, yeah,
12, 17, 17 from 52. That means 37 weeks a year. You're in church on Sunday
yeah, yeah,
and you can preach here 8 times
yeah,
because otherwise you're going to be traveling around the place, giving the same talks everywhere you go because no one's heard them because it was before social
yeah,
media.
yeah, yeah,
And you'll just churn out the same talks and you'll know them like the back of your hand. You won't have to think about them. You won't preach fresh material. You won't be held to account for your preaching ability. You won't have peer review.
yeah,
Become a big man, big fish in a small pond.
yeah,
And you would have no accountability of substance.
yeah,
And I've kept that all my working life since then.
yeah,
And it seems to me that for a traveling person, that's where the local church can serve
yes,
a
yeah,
traveling evangelist. And then I wonder sometimes if you can flip it, that when you're a pastor teacher, you're saying, let's find 5 or 6 times a year where we just stretch you a bit outside here. Could there be something you could go and have a go at, speak at, that just gives you freshness? And could you flip that scene?
yeah,
Uh,
I love that.
so I'd say that all the time. That's where the rubber hits the road, doesn't it? In my world, that if you work for Christians in Sport and you're on the road,
Yeah,
we insist that you're in a church where you're held to account. We speak to your church leaders
yeah,
and we ask if you're capable of it. Could you speak sometimes at church? If
yeah,
sometimes our guys are quite young, but can they be brought through? Can they be held to account for their Bible teaching and
yeah,
consistent Sunday by Sunday and measured against others and built up? Could they have some roles? But at the same time, my guy said to me, you can only preach that number of times because otherwise it's a busman's holiday. You can't preach all the time because you're away all week
yeah, yeah,
evangelizing.
yeah,
So you can't have a busman's holiday. You need to come to church and sit with your wife and children and just be in church,
yeah, yeah,
be in fellowship.
yeah,
So that kind of rigorous training
yeah,
from a
that's great,
pastor
mate.
teacher for younger people who do other things.
Yeah,
Gold dust,
yeah,
absolutely gold dust.
that is great. And I think that's been my experience, as this kind of, as the church office has grown and
Yeah.
the opportunities arise,
Mm.
I love the fact that our elders in our church are sitting going, how can we serve you? How can we protect you? How
Mm.
can we ensure that you're not going to get burnt out? And
Yeah.
there's the idea of, one of the wonderful things that makes the church office effective, I think, is the grace of God, is that you've got a church that really model and see the gift.
Yes.
You've got somebody who's got gifting in that area, and
Yeah.
then you've got a content and an encouragement that the church office brings. That triangle
Yes.
works. You take away the local church and you become irrelevant after so many years.
Yeah.
But actually being that practitioner in a church that's got a model,
Yes.
with the content that you're saying. We want the scripture to inform our practice and the way we do things
Yeah.
and the way that we're building.
Yeah.
It just seems to work. So my experience of that, Graham, is the same for our church, and I'm grateful. I know not everyone's experience
Yeah.
is that, but it is the kindness of God to us. Yeah.
But that's why I know we're coming to a close, but that's why I think your vision, I'm not just blowing smoke at you.
Mm.
We know each other for many years, but I think that's why your vision is so important. It's so important because it it means that pastors and teachers and evangelists,
Mm.
paid and volunteers,
Yeah.
are going to last the course longer in local church ministry. The
Yeah.
Puritans yearned, didn't they, for lifelong ministry
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Bible teachers. If your role expands to church after church after church, there's a much higher chance of those men sustaining their role,
Yeah.
gospel ministry,
Yeah.
the pastor teacher.
Yeah.
And at which point, then, of course, it does become incumbent that people protect people like you,
Yeah.
because then you could take too much weight. That's what you're
Yeah.
saying, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely
that
right.
needs to be monitored by the church elders
Yeah.
for maximum efficiency.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. Have you? I mean, I've got to ask you a question before we stop.
Go on.
You've been doing this a long time at your church, so it's a brilliant role model. I can remember a long time ago coming to have lunch and just seeing the quality of people around the room
Yeah.
on a one-off visit. Have you seen reasonable or substantial growth in churches doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. I
Wow.
think a good admin and ops that really works well alongside a leader with that kind of visionary teaching gift.
Yeah.
You see churches that are healthy,
Mm,
where there's real unity. And then you also see churches that are growing. And I think that for me, that connection from practical ministry, which we might describe,
mm.
to having a spiritual effect on a church,
Yeah.
like we see in Acts 6, that,
Yeah.
the word was preached and the church multiplied.
Yes. Yes.
And, you pull on those threads as to why that was the case.
Yes.
It was those leaders that were liberated,
Yes.
and it's also that very literal things that Stephen and his colleagues, they got on with the job and they project manage it and they worked it all out, and they
Yes.
distributed the food and the resources effectively. And so you've got a church that's peaceful, and growing. And I think, yeah, we have seen that, and I've seen leaders that have lasted longer
Mm,
and are less, stressed out,
mm,
and also feel like often the expectations on a church leader from their church is
mm.
quite high of what they expect them to do. And I think we're starting to try and challenge that a bit more.
Yes.
He's the one who gets paid, so he should do all this ministry.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when we talk about, how do we create a culture and a structure in our church where, we enable others to do ministry, that
Yes.
I come to work and I do nothing
Yeah.
other than, work with people to do the work of ministry.
Yes.
It's a challenge. And so leaders end up doing tasks that they're not very good at,
Yeah.
end up feeling a failure because they're not doing a good job, and end up leaving. And you've
Yes.
got gospel preaching ministers and leaders who call it a day. So for me to come alongside a leader and go, right, how can we serve you,
Yeah.
and find the right person, train the right person to come alongside you,
Mm.
is the most exciting part of the job, I think. Yeah.
Amazing. What a vision. Well,
Yeah.
long may it flourish.
Oh,
Long may
mate.
it flourish. I'm so grateful because learning those things, I really did learn them at St Andrew the Great when I first went there in my late 30s. I'd learned it in football. You need the number one and number two, as it were. They got to
Yeah.
complement each other. They got to have very different skills,
Yeah.
but they got to have the same cause in mind. They've got to be good characters.
Yeah.
To see this flourishing in the church in our country, and to see whatever the Lord is doing with this so-called, it's become vernacular, isn't it? Quiet revival.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's definitely a renewal, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether
Yeah,
this is going to become
yeah,
a revival, we'll see, but there's a
yeah,
renewal.
yeah,
And if there was ever something that's important, then it's a structure around the
yeah,
church.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's see
And I
what the
think
Lord
just
does.
picking up on that point, Graham, about the quiet revival,
Mm.
churches are getting messier, aren't they? Because their traditional, like, first contact for a church might have been Alpha or Christianity
Yeah,
Explored. Now it's just a Sunday morning, isn't it? Like they're turning up on Sunday morning, and the discipleship programs that we had are no longer valid because people are coming in going, I don't know anything about the Bible. I've never read it. And I love it. And I just think this is wonderful time to refocus and then to go and restructure and say, how do we serve people with the gospel and teach them, disciple them? It's great.
Well, it's coming fast, hopefully. So get more Gavin Smiths, I say. Get your bucks out and pick some more Gavin Smith churches.
That's kind. Mate, thank you for coming on. What a lovely conversation that is. And I know our listeners will love you and will probably be aware of you. But if you want to find out more about Christians in Sport, please Google them. Please get in touch with us. We'd love to connect you. If you've got young people in your church who are participating in sport, at different levels, then, there's something here that you can connect with. My kids have gone to the camps and I've loved them. And part of their salvation story has been, coming to a camp. And I think about Zach, my lad, is just a joy. So, mate, really appreciate your ministry. Really appreciate you and your friendship. So thanks for coming on the podcast. Any questions from anyone, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Love to connect you more. Graham, thank you for your time, buddy.
Great, Gavin.
I look forward to bumping into you again at some point.
As long as you don't tackle me.
I'll ping a ball at you,
You can do that.
Bless you, mate. Well, that's great to chat. And thanks for listening to the podcast today. And we'll look forward to seeing you again. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.